dissertations on like these first round series. I feel
All right, we should be live now.
awesome.
Hold on, let me just retweet. All right, we are ready to go.
Perfect, dude.
Give it another 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'll send this around to some groups right now.
Beautiful.
Dude, I went for a hike today. It was so nice out.
It's
just
beautiful.
incredibly nice. Like took the dogs and everything. So it was a good time.
There we go. Get them ready for the night. All right, let's get into it.
All right, man.
All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Happy hump day. My name is Casey Halpern, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my friend, prosecutor by day, NBA sharp by night, Joe Dellera, to chat a little bit about tonight's playing games and the NBA postseason as a whole. Joe is an awesome follow on Twitter, so make sure you go and shoot him a follow and start tailing him. His handle is below in the ticker that you could see down there on the bottom of the broadcast. Joe, appreciate you taking some time to come rap about the games and more. What's going on, my man?
Dude, just having a great day. You know, the weather's been nice over here in New Jersey today for once. So have enjoyed the weather and went for a hike today and excited to watch these games and excited for the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, it's a great time of year. Spring is here, basically. You know, April showers bring May flowers, but we're blessed with some beautiful days in a row here in New Jersey. So hopefully we're saying goodbye to winter and bringing out the shorts and tank tops as we approach the NBA postseason.
Dude, but, I got the tank top under here, so we're good.
The Knicks one, I assume.
Dude, it's always the Knicks. So
I'm shocked. Before we dive into this, any advice on how to bet on these NBA playoffs, aside from following you, Brandon, and the gang, and Raheem?
Dude, I think the big thing is to really honestly watch the games. So it's like one of those things. It's funny. It's like cliche, but you can really get into the weeds, especially the way like the book, like everybody's like promoting, like there's this parlay, there's this. It's like, just take like a second, watch a game, read an article, like even like it will really help your understanding of like what's going on here. And, you know, you can even just look back just quickly just and say like, all right, like what happened when these two teams played each other during the regular season? Just at least a baseline so that you have an idea of like, what am I looking at? How are we doing here? And, you know, try to use the tools that are available to you. And if you don't want to spend the time doing that, then at least, you know, get some other opinions or follow some good people on Twitter.
Right. And yeah, watch the games, shop around, look for the best odds. You'll probably find them at Profit Exchange, shockingly. You won't find better odds on all your straight bets. And that brings us to number two, I guess. Let's dive into which side, total, or money line you have an eye on tonight. I know who I'm looking to bet. I already did bet him earlier, actually. So curious to hear your thoughts here.
Dude, these games today are like gross, I feel, but they're just gross. But I do think that there might be like a little bit of value on Chicago, to be honest with you. Just based on the fact that their defense has been much better over the past couple of months, right? So they actually have a top 10 defense in the NBA in terms of adjusted defensive rating on the season. So I think Chicago's got a little bit of an edge here, and you know, we'll see what we can do with them. And plus, like, I like the fact that you're getting a couple points here as a dog. So I do like Chicago tonight.
Yeah. I mean, my one piece of betting advice for the NBA playoffs, aside from following you and Brandon and Raheem on Twitter, is if I'm taking a dog, I'm taking them outright as well. But I like the Bulls with the points here and outright. Just since the All-Star break, the Bulls have been a completely different team, 14-9 with the third best net rating, I believe.
They've been awesome. Yeah.
And their defense has really been like the reason why. And it's not like Toronto is a juggernaut on offense to begin with. So I kind of expect a rock fight in this one. And it seems like the Raptors are just that Cancun team, they want the season to end. They know they didn't live up to expectations this year, and it just kind of went by the wayside, and they're just ready to hit the beach, hit the golf course. I don't blame them, but
or something. Yeah, just not be there. Just not,
yeah,
like,
exactly. They have
gonna,
no desire to move on and play another game and to then maybe advance.
and you're just going to be served. Like, even if you get through, you're going to be just served up to the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, it's going to be gross.
It's just like you get to advance for an ass whooping. Like, and it's just quit while you're
worth it. Not worth
it. Do you like anything in the later game, Pelicans Thunder?
I lean Thunder, but my concern with this spot is honestly the Thunder just have absolutely no playoff experience. And you're looking at a Pelicans team who has some guys that have played like very meaningful playoff minutes, namely CJ McCollum at the top, right? So you have that veteran leadership, you have that veteran presence, and in a game where you like absolutely have to have it, that's something that I think is an edge there, right? And I also think that as good as Shea's been incredible, right? But the Thunder have like one rotation, like they have one set of guys, like those guys are good. They play them great, right? But they're younger. They've never been in a spotlight that's probably this big. And you have this Pelicans team who has a lot of counters. Jonas Valanciunas is actually a guy that I'm looking to fade tonight, especially in terms of his PRA. He just doesn't get enough minutes. It's odd. You would think that he would get that size advantage and play a lot of minutes against this undersized Thunder team. Just isn't used. They use a lot more Jackson Hayes, Dyson Daniels, and that's like kind of how they try to counter the Thunder. But just having those counters gives you that versatility. And that's what makes me say, like, I don't know if I want to bet OKC, even though I do kind of like them in the spot and I like the talent that they have. And Shea is still probably the best player on the floor.
Right. I mean, I'm completely with you there. And I also think like New Orleans, they just have so many guys they could throw at you too. And the fact that like Giddey, it's astounding that the Thunder have made it this far, especially this year without Chet all year. And Giddey is their leading rebounder at just under 8 rebounds a game. I mean, hats off to them. I think their coach has done an amazing job. I can't pronounce his name every single time. It's too hard.
Don't even try. Don't do it to yourself.
It's treacherous. I mean, but as you said, Shea is incredible. He's probably going to be an all-NBA guy this year, but I just like the Pelicans in this one. They have just way too many guys to throw at you, and I think McCollum and crew get it done. Let's jump ahead now to the real thing, the series. Ones we're all excited for. Is there a matchup that you have your eye on already? Is there a game one side total or money line you like? Perhaps even a prop out there you're eyeing for Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah. So the first thing that I bet, honestly, throughout this entire week was I was waiting for Domantas Sabonis's rebounds prop to come out. And I hit it the other day at 12.5. I think it might have moved actually to 13.5, depending on the book, but I think it's okay to bet either way. This Warriors team is pretty undersized. He's recorded 14, and 22 rebounds in his games against the Warriors this season. So we know he's going to smash. We know he's going to see extended minutes. So I'm definitely looking at that series for some prop value. It's also just going to be an absolute, it's going to be a race. Like, those teams play so fast, right? So I'm excited to watch that series. Another series that I'm very interested in, though, and a series that I bet already, is I bet on the Lakers to win the series against the Grizzlies. And I just think that
in a specific amount of games, or just outright?
Just outright, because I got him at a dog this morning. Look, I think Jaren Jackson Jr. might play like 15 minutes a game because he's just going to get a bad whistle. Right. I just don't know how he stays on the floor. And then, like, what are we going to do? Throw Kenny Lofton at Anthony Davis? Like, get out of here, man.
I think I don't want to jump ahead, but I have some love to give to someone before we end the stream, and it actually is an answer to my question later on. But so I don't want to jump too far in advance here, but I understand the Lakers love. The Grizzlies don't have that many guys to throw at them, especially without Steven Adams and no Brandon Clark, obviously.
Exactly.
It's a tough matchup for them too, right? Like, AD is a force in the front court, and we know what LeBron's going to do, obviously. Exactly. But I kind of feel like the Grizzlies are now undervalued, though, in a sense.
I think you're right, like, at a certain point, right? So, like, I do think that there's probably a little bit of value in terms of what the line is, right? But like, when I'm looking at the series and I'm looking at like what I expect to see, I think that the Lakers have a little bit more that they can do, right? So I like the fact that you have there under no circumstance do they not have the two best players on the floor. Like
Right.
as good as John Morant is, as good as Desmond Bane is, as good as Jaren Jackson Jr. is, there is, in my opinion, there's no circumstance where Anthony Davis and LeBron James are not the two best players on the floor. And to me, that's very significant, especially when the big thing has really been that, like obviously the Grizzlies can run with anybody, and that's their thing. They get out in transition. The Lakers can start doing some weird things to kind of disrupt that, right? Like we watched it a couple of years ago. Well, now what is it, like 6 years ago, when LeBron put himself basically on Curry in the finals.
Yep.
And that's something that I think might be deployed on John Morant, that he's just going to have. There's no answer to that. You can't do anything. Like Ja, he can talk all his talk, but like he's not going to get around a 6'9" like LeBron James. It's just not going to happen. So I like the fact that the Lakers kind of restructured the team entirely, and they have the two best players on the floor. Granted, obviously after that, I think you get a lot of Grizzlies, but I do like the fact that you have Anthony Davis and LeBron James in that spot. So I really do like the Lakers in that series.
Right. I mean, look, if you ask me 10 times out of 10, I'm going to take the team with AD and LeBron.
Yeah.
it really feels like just a bet on injuries, right? Like, as long as they don't get in, like they have a very clear and obvious path to winning, and they should probably be the favorites in that sense. But LeBron's getting up there in age. We all know AD is made of glass. His nickname is Street Clothes for a reason. So
for sure,
it's
for
a bet
sure.
on
And I mean, that's
here.
the gamble. That's always the gamble with them. It's like you just don't know how they're gonna be health wise.
Yep. Would you say you're looking forward to the Grizzlies Lakers the most, or no?
It's so hard. Like I feel like there's so many good matchups. None of them really in the Eastern Conference. I'm excited for Knicks Cavs for fandom purposes, but I think the rest of the series are going to be like real chalky. And then I think this Suns Clippers series is going to be fascinating, right? Because this is going to be the first time that we've ever really gotten to see the Suns like really go out there, try and be like, how many minutes is KD going to play? And is Paul George ever going to be available? And if he is available, how does that change the circumstance? It's kind of, Brandon made a joke, and it was like, we finally get to see these two hypothetical teams play each other. And then, of course, now Paul George is out. So that's going to always be still like, well, what if Paul George played? So that series is, I think, one that I'm most excited about. But I think that there's a lot of good things to watch in the first round of the playoffs.
Also, I feel like a storyline that's kind of been like underrated and hasn't been talked about much, which would have been massive like 5 or 6 years ago. It's like we get Russ versus KD now in the playoffs.
That's true. I didn't even think about that, actually. I kind of forgot.
I didn't think about that until I saw like KD had a quote on Russ today, or what it might have been the other way around, but then it like clicked. I was like, holy shit, we get KD versus Russ in the playoffs. Like this would be massive 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a really good series. Like, there's no way that I don't want to watch Kevin Durant play. So it's gonna be great offense. It's gonna be great basketball.
It should be. Is there anyone on? Wait, actually, before we get to this question, put on your Knicks hat for a second.
Okay.
Put on your fan hat and maybe your bettors hat. What do you think is the actual outcome in round one?
I bet at open over 5.5 games. I think this is going to be a long series. Yeah. I think that these two teams match up very well. So one of the things, like the Tibbs thing is just always Tibbs teams don't have the extra gear in the playoffs because their main
just
guys
runs them into the ground.
Yeah, because he runs everybody to the ground. Interestingly enough, ready? Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson all have averaged 35 minutes a game per game this season. So like, we're seeing Cleveland doing something very similar, honestly, with their best players. Like they're playing big minutes, right? So I think that a big question here is Randle's health. Whether he plays or not, I don't know if that's good or bad for us sometimes, but I do think that we need him for the whole series. Like it's going to be hard to win without an all-star there. Right. Obviously Jalen Brunson, I think, should have been an all-star, but it's tough if you're missing Randle. So I think this is going to be a really, really good series. And I like the fact that the Knicks, in my opinion, have a lot of counters for what the Cavs like to do, right? Because Mobley and Allen are not necessarily offensive juggernauts. Are they going to play LeVert or are they going to play Okoro? And if they play Okoro, he's not really the biggest offensive threat. So
that's a 0 on offense.
So it's a 0. So you're putting a lot of pressure on Garland and Mitchell, who obviously Brunson's not the best defender, but he's a dog. And then, you have RJ, who's got size. He's not great. Quickly, incredible defender. Grimes, incredible defender. Josh Hart, incredible defender. And you have all these things that you can throw at Cleveland and different looks, different schemes. And like, even when somebody comes in off the bench, it's not getting easier. So that's the thing that I'm most interested about with this series. And it's going to be, are the Knicks able to essentially force Okoro off the floor? Because if they do, because the Cavs need more offense, that's going to open up a lot more for Brunson, because Brunson struggled a little bit head to head with Okoro covering him. So I'm very curious to see that interplay, right? And I think that the Knicks can really drag the series out, and they're well coached. You have a guy at the helm in Jalen Brunson that can really command and control the offense. I think this is going to be a really good matchup, good series.
I love that bet you made. I think it's gone 6 or 7 games. I actually went the Cavs-Knicks back in, I think, the end of January when the Knicks won by 2, 105-103.
Oh, was that one where Mitchell got stuffed at the end?
Stuffed at the buzzer. Incredible game. I just think it's a great matchup for each other. But obviously, no Randall would be massive, but maybe a little Ewing theory with that.
I know. I mean, the one thing is
in the playoffs. Like, as a game, you want Brunson to have the ball, not Randall. Let's just call a spade here.
I agree with you. And I mean, we do know one thing, and it's that Jalen Brunson can beat Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs. So
exactly.
We got that history.
He literally just did it a year ago. He dropped 41 on him.
That's what I'm saying.
Incredible. I guess anyone on upset alert in round 1, history tells us it's going to be mostly chalk in the early going, but this year kind of feels different to me. It really feels like this is the first time in literally my lifetime I can remember the NBA playoffs being like actually wide open. So you think about like how many like super teams there have been with Kobe and Shaq, the Duncan Popovich years, obviously those Piston teams, the Heat with LeBron, Wade, Bosh, Warriors, Cavs. This feels like the first time in a while we have not a damn clue who's going to win it all. We might have an idea on who will beat the Final Four per se, but the last time a non-5 seed beat a lower seed in the first round was 2018 when AD, Drew Holiday, and Pelicans swept the Blazers. So do you think that there's a chance a team seeded 6 through 8 can pull off an upset this year?
I mean, there's a lot of teams that realistically, like when you look at it, like the Western Conference is ripe for that, right? Because the 2-3 is the Grizzlies and the Kings, and then you have the Lakers and the Warriors. So you have 2 teams that people really want to bet on, and it's hard to get away from the Warriors. But I think that like out of the 2, even though the line on Golden State kind of implies that they should be favored, right? Like they're a heavy favorite on the series. To me, it's that line is very disrespectful to the Kings. Like that, the offense is incredible, right? The thing is, the Kings really just don't have any answer for that Draymond Curry like pick and roll type of deal. So it's tough, but I think that one bet that I like is on I like the Kings like over 1.5 games. You can get it. I think it's at plus money depending on the place, depending on where you can find it, but the fact that's basically just saying it's going to go 7 games. And I think that that's entirely possible just because both of these teams with the offense that they run, they're going to be subject to variance, right? So if a team goes cold, it's like, all right, well, if the other team's not going to stop scoring. So, it's you're not going to win an ugly game in that series, I don't think.
I mean, also you got to feel for the Kings fans not going to the playoffs for the first time in 16 years, longest drought in all of sports. And then it's like, here are the defending champs.
Yeah. And I mean, and the thing is too, that sucks for them is like, it's the defending champs and they're your neighbor. Right. So like, you're going to get a lot of fans that are going to come to these games that are not Kings fans. Right. So that, I think that definitely makes it a little bit harder to kind of keep that home court environment there.
Do we see a game crack 300 in between these two?
I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I think it's possible. I think it would be in game 2. Where teams like make like half adjustments almost, and maybe are able to get out to something real fast, and some of the jitters are gone.
It's gonna be an exciting series, an absolute track meet.
For sure.
Very eager to watch that one unfold. Which player are you looking forward to watching most in this postseason? And it doesn't have to be a starter; it could be a role player or whatever.
I mean, I love LeBron. Like I hope he goes deep in the playoffs, but I'm very excited to see and I'm very interested to see, right, Joel Embiid because Joel has been this guy like you figure he's going to win MVP this year. Like he's obviously a deserving candidate whether he should be or not. Like it's not my call. I don't get the votes, but I think that it's going to be very interesting because of all the criticism that Jokic has gotten over the past couple of seasons, right? Winning back-to-back MVPs, and they're like, well, you lose in the playoffs. And he put up insane numbers in the playoffs. So I'm curious to see, what Embiid is able to do just based on the fact that his path is absolutely brutal. Like they got kind of lucky in the fact that they're going to get Brooklyn in the first round, right? But then you figure their path is going to be Boston and then Milwaukee just to get to the finals. Like that is no easy task. So we're going to have to see if Philly's going to go to the finals, they're going to need prime MVP, like caliber performances from Embiid throughout the entire postseason.
Like he has to just put them on his back. I mean, look, I hope this is the year he does it. I took a future on them before the season. I want to say 15-1.
Yeah.
Just Doc Rivers as a coach really scares me.
It's nerve-wracking, man. It's totally nerve-wracking. And you know what you're going to get with them, right? So it's like it's just Harden and Embiid, a little bit of Maxey.
They have the talent. Just I really wish they never got rid of Isaiah Joe, who they never gave a fair shake.
Dude's a sharpshooter.
He's the perfect fit for them. It's just like they never let him really cook at all.
Yeah.
For me, though, I'm going to go off the beaten path here. I don't even know if he will get actual burn at all, but for me, it's Kenneth Lofton Jr. I've been on him for literally years. When the NCAA tournament was going on the COVID year, my friend and I were betting the NIT and literally riding Kenneth Lofton Jr. and La Tech all the way to the finals. They ended up losing, but this guy is unreal. Watching him play basketball is simply just beautiful. It's kind of what I imagine watching Scorsese direct The Departed was like. Just aesthetically pleasing. He's 6'7", 280 pounds. He's a behemoth who could literally flat out ball. And with the injuries to Clark and Adams, someone has to step up for Memphis. And I weirdly think it could be him. He's talented.
You might have to. You might literally have to.
It just might be him. And since stats were originally tracked in 1970, he became the first player ever to have a 40-point, 10-rebound performance in their first NBA start. I know as a bunch of I know it's against a bunch of nobodies and Thunder were sitting guys, but I could be sniffing markers here, but I truly think he can make a real tangible impact.
You had some good markers over there. It's like you must be Sharpies. So
oh man. My elementary school teachers wouldn't love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's definitely going to be something that's interesting. And I agree with you in the fact that I think that if Memphis is going to play well, like they probably do need some good minutes from him, just based on the fact that I think we're going to see foul trouble from, Jaren Jackson Jr. And even if he only plays like, say 10 minutes or something like that, that's a pretty big chunk of minutes they'd have to survive without, Jaren Jackson Jr. or Xavier Tillman, whatever the circumstances. So I like the look there. I think that's a fun guy to watch.
Sometimes you got to think outside the box. You can't give all the answers that everyone else gets.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, you see him doing some fun stuff on the bench.
Exactly. Yeah. If they had Theo Pinson too, I feel like that'd be a great bench mob.
I went to Monmouth, so I remember the bench mob days from what was it, like 7 years ago or so, like when they were all on ESPN, like going crazy.
So in high school, I was on the lacrosse team, and we had our own little bench mob, and we would literally just start punching each other in the face every time we scored a goal. It just became utter chaos. Like when we would, like other teams would scout us, they'd be like, "What the hell are these guys?"
They're just terrified.
Doing?
You're terrified. Yeah, they don't know what to do.
No idea. You got to intimidate them somehow if you're not going to step on the floor.
Yeah.
Last but not least, give me your NBA Finals prediction before we get out of here.
I'm going to be taking the Milwaukee Bucks over the Phoenix Suns. I just think that Phoenix's path right now is okay. I think they match up decently against they're obviously getting a damaged Clippers team. I think they match up decently with the Nuggets, and then obviously whoever's going to come out of that other part of the bracket. And then Milwaukee, their path is realistically the easiest out of the Eastern Conference teams. You avoid one of Philly or Boston, and you just have this battle-tested squad with Giannis, who is just just an absolute wrecking ball. So I like Milwaukee here, and I would take Milwaukee on top of Phoenix in the spots, though.
Oh man, I had the same answer as you.
We're chalk. We're chalk.
I mean, I just want to ride Giannis like to the promised land. He is that dominant player, and he's just continuing to get better and better. And I think some of the role players will step up come postseason. I think Chris Middleton will hopefully refine his form. And Drew is just such an animal. But you know what? To be different, screw it. Give me the Sixers over the Suns.
All right, so, I like it. If they get into that matchup, I love Philly. That's a fun one.
I mean, my wallet would really like it. I just don't actually see it happening. But hey, we'll will it into existence.
We'll make it fun.
Joe, thank you so much for doing this. Had a blast getting the chat. What do you have to plug? Where can people find you? Tell everyone.
So you can find me at Joe Dellera. That's my Twitter handle. And then my podcast, the Cash That podcast, comes out every Wednesday. That's available on all streaming platforms. There's also a Twitter account. You can find that in my bio. And I also am I write for the Action Network, and you can find my articles on their website, on my Twitter, and listen to Buckets as well. So I'm on their podcast that's released I'm going to be on Sunday nights going into Monday.
Perfect. Joe, appreciate you doing this. Enjoy the NBA postseason. We'll chat soon. And before I go, you won't find any better NBA postseason odds than on Profit Exchange all playoffs long. All new users can receive up to $100 in promotional credit. May your bets be profitable. Joe, we'll chat soon.
All right. Thanks, man. Pleasure seeing you.
Later.